Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the program. Today we're going to talk about two more discovered lost cities using LIDAR or airborne LIDAR. They're in two completely different parts of the earth. So let's talk about the first one. The first one is the lost city of the ancient Khmer Empire in Cambodia. And for a long time they speculated where this place was. Based on various factors, they couldn't really go in and investigate, mainly because of landmines and just other parts of the storied history, the tumultuous history of that area. But it had been a long time coming. Thought the city, which is called Mahendraparvata, which means Mountain of Indra, King of the Gods. So this is this lost city, and this name, it's very movie-like and very Hollywood-like, but it's super interesting. It was one of the first capitals in the Khmer Empire from 9th to 15th century AD. But the thing was, they only had peripheral knowledge of the place. Much of what they knew came from inscriptions recovered from other sites. It's kind of like the Scythians. You don't really know where the Scythians came from, but you can kind of triangulate their location based off other accounts from other regions and other countries and such. So for a long time, they theorized that the city was located on the Phnom Kulen Plateau, which is here, if you see it on the map here. It's also a national park, and the city itself is right here. So when I zoom out, this is Cambodia. It's northwest Cambodia, more or less, here. And there's a plateau, and it just... for a long time they just get in there because, again, I mentioned landmines and other types of barriers. It was inaccessible, the plateau was remote, etc., etc. So now they did this LIDAR stuff, and that combined with a lot of this other peripheral accounts, this field work accounts, they're pretty certain that they can confirm their hypothesis, which is basically stacks and stacks of evidence that they've gathered for the past 40 plus years. Again, they used LIDAR here, airborne laser scanning, according to the article, and they had to map the area in two separate operations. So the first was in 2012, about 9,143 acres they were able to map, because, again, that's really expensive to use these. Their resources could probably only take that much. So again, 3 years later, they scanned it again in 2015, and this time they did the mountain range and another 240,000 some odd acres. So there's a lot of LIDAR mapping. Obviously, there'd be a lot of information that would come from this. There better be. I'd be really pissed if I spent thousands and thousands of dollars to scan LIDAR on a plateau and nothing came up. But yeah, they did find a bunch of stuff, which we'll get into now. So again, that coupled with information collected by field investigations, they created a map that showed a newly discovered main pass and coordinate axes. So this is the map they came up with. It looks very much like a city that's planned, like streets and a complicated sewage system that I talked about in a previous episode regarding the ancient Cambodian empire, the Khmer Empire. And it's very, very interesting stuff. They had a sophisticated hydraulic system. The city was built on a linear axes that roughly correspond with the cardinal directions. So again, they had a modern city grid system, and they were one of the first documented civilizations that actually utilized this. So they must have been very, very advanced. And this is the same empire that is responsible for Angkor Wat, allegedly. It depends on who you ask, but that place also has astronomical alignments as well. So before this period of time, human settlements in the area had no formal grid. So within this area, this is allegedly one of the first cities. But it's interesting, why would they suddenly go from unorganized cities to this, like almost in a blink of an eye in terms of the history of the earth? So there's a lot of questions left, even though a lot of questions have been answered. It's almost like, where do they get this knowledge? Who gave them this knowledge? Where do these traditions come from? Because it's very hard to imagine that they developed organically, like these types of large grid cities. Okay, so here's some more pictures. So this is one of the lions, or I think that's a lion they found in one of the jungles there. Here's a better image of the planned city on a plateau. Very interesting stuff. Okay, so the next city is in a different continent in South America, high up in the Andes, again revealed by LIDAR, and this is where a lot of LIDAR has been used, and in South America, specifically in the Peruvian Andes, because there's a famous Incan site there, Machu Picchu, and it's very hard to really conduct any conclusive studies and get beyond speculation and theories. So when they used the LIDAR here, they revealed the full extent of the city, which was settled by the Incas and the people that came before them, often referred to as the pre-Incas. So basically these are very ancient people that they don't know exactly when they were settling, but they do know that they were right before the Incas, or maybe not right before, but sometime before. So here's an interesting thing. The settlement lies in an archaeological zone known as Wata, meaning island, at an altitude of around 13,000 feet. So that's very interesting right there. This place high up in the mountains, really high, far to this day, very far away from water, from the ocean. If you want to talk about like this XYZ axis, but it's been called island for a long time, so it's very interesting. Lake Titicaca also has this type of like this weird, mysterious, high altitude lake type of speculation. So that's pretty interesting in and of itself, the etymology of the place. So considering that this place is also 5,000 feet higher than Machu Picchu, which is supposed to be their crown jewel of a city. So first of all, it's really hard to get there. So getting any LIDAR must have cost a lot of money. And before they even did the LIDAR, it's pretty hard to conceive of a way for them to really confirm that there was a city there. Because you're at 13,000 feet of elevation, mostly open landscape. There's not a lot of trees around. And you're in the high altitude sun. I don't know if you guys have been hiking in the mountains during the summer, but the higher up you go, the more you're going to get cooked, essentially. It's beautiful up there, obviously. I think there are some. Do I have some pictures? Yeah, here's one of the sites here at the top, and yeah, this is 13,000 feet up. And then there's this cool video here of the visualized, seeing when you see it in motion like that. But again, that's all theoretical. But they're pretty close, though. I would say they're pretty close, and they're probably spot on. And this is all from LIDAR too, and other things that they knew about the Incas and the pre-Incas and other peripheral knowledge. So again, the site itself would have been ideal for a city because it sits above the mountain. It's a perfect viewpoint down to all the different valleys that are coming up as a trade route. So if people were coming or going, you would be able to have a clear view of them. And I don't know if there are invaders or not, but if there are invaders that come up, you wouldn't miss them, and then you'd have time to prepare accordingly. So it's a very strategic and a very valuable location within the mountains up there. So they uncovered evidence of tombs, ceremonial plazas, residential areas, and large surrounding wall. So again, these things are indicative of not just any people living there, but a pretty sophisticated group of people who were city planning, essentially. They were planning for on behalf of a larger group of people. And they have a wall. So again, who knows what the politics were at the time, but you can see with LIDAR that once upon a time there was an infrastructure there, and that's the most important thing to get from this. So again, LIDAR, they revealed the topography of the land, any ancient man-made features that are not normally visible. They identified signature of Inca terracing, which I just showed you in the video, and circular structures associated with the pre-Incas. So again, they have like these foundations, these circular foundations that must have held something up. And they're so old that they predate the Incas. And this guy, he says, we can delete that shrub, and all of a sudden the whole mountain became this terrace-shaped place, just like Machu Picchu. So as soon as they did the LIDAR scanning, it was immediately apparent that it was terraced. It was the work of humans, and the terracing moved all the way up, although at a smaller scale and with less detail. So the higher you got up, the less sophisticated it got, which is a pretty interesting detail. And then the other thing is, the Inca built on top of an earlier pre-Inca settlement. So that's also very interesting, because there are several civilizations that have done that. The Romans did that, and I think some of the Chinese people, the ancient Chinese people, did that as well. And again, this might have been a template for Machu Picchu, because again, Machu Picchu was allegedly constructed mid 15th century, which was later than this place. So that might have been a way for them to perfect their skills, or maybe build on top of something that might have been even older than not just Machu Picchu, but this pre-Incan site as well. But anyway, let me know what you guys think. I think LIDAR is amazing. I love reporting on it, and it's basically, like I said in a previous video, it's like a cheat code. You can remove like a certain layer of pixels, and then you can just see the landscape itself and see exactly what the shape and topography is underneath all the shrubbery. And it's an invaluable tool. I'll keep you guys posted on anything else that gets revealed, not just by LIDAR, but by any type of scanning. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys later.